Welcome to Nicole Mauer's Creating Innovative Uses of Technology lesson plan. This is for Central Michigan University's course, EDU 790. The objective of my lesson plan was to utilize the Dymo Mimeo Teach interactive whiteboard with my Chemistry 11 students, and I wanted to do this so that I could provide these kids with engaging activities for not only the area of chemistry, but for cross-curricular writing as well. For a little bit of background history on my Chemistry 11 course, a majority of these students are very low in motivation. They fall within the free and reduced lunch program, and within our district, we tier our kids into 3 tiers. Tier 1 are those students that are on track to be successful. Tier 2 are the kids that are maybe not quite up to grade level, but with a little bit of help, they could be where they need to be successful. And on the flip side of that, these are also the kids that could fall through the cracks and not get to where they actually needed to be. And then we have the tier 3 kids, which are nowhere near to being where they should be, and these kids really need to have hardcore interventions to be brought back up to grade level. Now, within my Chemistry 11 course, more than 85% of my students fall within either the tier 2 or tier 3 category, and of those, over 50% of those students qualify for intervention pullouts based upon their reading abilities alone. For the first lesson plan, I wanted my kids to use the Mimeo Teach to assist them in learning the correct spellings and symbols for the first 36 elements of the periodic table. These are the elements that we'll be using most frequently in class. We're going to do this using a Mimeo Teach bar and software with a whiteboard, or in my case, I don't have a whiteboard, excuse me, but I do have a blackboard that has a projector screen, and all of the Mimeo Teach software and tools are able to be used with my projector screen, so that wasn't an issue. An overhead projector is a must, a computer that can access the projector as well as the software at the same time, and then if you have internet access, it is an added bonus as there's updates to this technology all the time, and it's nice to have the latest and the greatest. For the first lesson, the requirements of the teacher or parapro would be that you're familiar with the technology so that you can not only anticipate student questions, but if issues arise, you're knowledgeable enough to be able to assist the kids. As far as students go, if they have basic computer knowledge, it's nice, but it's not mandatory. You can teach them what they need to know in a relatively short amount of time. And of course, listening skills. And we all know how that goes. In order to teach my students how to use the Mimeo Teach, I'm going to allot one class period to introduce the technology. From the very beginning, I'm going to model how I expect the students to use this technology, what they are to be doing when they're using it. And then once the technology has been introduced, I'll probably give them 10 to 15 minutes each day for the first week just to kind of let them go in, play around with the different functionalities and the different tools that are within the program. And then for the next 5 to 7 days after that, I'll probably still give them 10 to 15 minutes each day, but then they have to be dealing with just the periodic table program alone. Once those 5 to 7 days are over, they will be assessed, probably in a quiz format. And then the procedures to teach the students how to use the Mimeo Teach are as follows. Once students are in the Mimeo Studio Notebook, the first thing I'm going to have them do is run up to File, Save As. I want them to save their file as their last name and the date so that we can have a track record of what they've done and the progress that they've made. And in this case, I've already done this, so I'm going to just hit cancel. But then I'm going to have them come over here to the gallery browser, click on that. They're then going to go up to gallery. They'll need to select science and chemistry. And if you look over here on the right side, you'll see all of the functions that come with the chemistry course. We're going to scroll all the way down, and we want to go to the periodic table. Now, if you click on periodic table and drag it over onto the whiteboard, you'll see that just the periodic table itself is full of information. Now, this isn't what I want my students to use right now, but this is something that they could use maybe for reference later on or in another project if they need to. So I'm going to have them go over to the periodic table template, select that, drag it over, and this is where they're going to be doing all of their practice. Now, if we zoom in, I'm going to come over here to where hydrogen should be. they can either do one of two things. They can either go and use the pencil to write, and I'm not very good at writing, so I'm just going to go and use the text box. So we'll select a text box, come over into the hydrogen element box, and I'm just going to type in the word hydrogen, hit enter, and hit the H. Now as you can see, our font is a little bit big, so if we highlight all of this, I'm going to modify that down to about a size 8, center it, because I kind of like things to be done neat. And then if I click on that box, I can go in and I can adjust the width of it so that it will all fit. Oops, and drag it over. And now I have my hydrogen. Now, what I want kids to do once they have all 36 elements entered is I want them to go back, double check their work. If they've made any mistakes, I would like them to come over here, use the highlighter, change the color if they so choose, and maybe I picked the wrong element symbol. So I'm going to come over here, highlight this, and any other mistakes that I've made, maybe in the spelling, maybe I have them in the wrong place, and then I'm going to come up here, click File, and Save, and now I have an archive of what I've done. And this is where we'll end for right now. The pros to this technology, well, let's face it, it's technology. Anytime the kids get a chance to play around with technology, they love it. While they're playing with it and learning the technology itself, they're being engaged. And the one thing I like about this is, as I mentioned earlier, my kids are competitive, and it's nice to be able to do these little one-on-one competitions or two-on-two competitions because it kind of gives me a sense of how the kids are doing and whether or not they're progressing like they should be or not. So it is very nice. The only con that I've got for the Mimeo Teach is that it does only require one whiteboard for the students to work on, and with that there's not that many students that I can test. At most, if I had the kids maybe pair up in groups of 2 and I did a kind of a pop quiz competition, I could get 4 up at a time, but typically you're looking at a one-on-one basis or a case where you're looking at 2 students competing against each other. As far as the instructional strategies, I think it's extremely important that you effectively model what you expect the students to be doing in that very first day that you teach the students. I do expect that all of my students participate in this activity, and the one really nice thing about this technology is that if you have students that are advancing quite rapidly, there are extensions that are available so that those kids continue to move on while maybe some of the other ones are still kind of trying to figure things out. The capabilities of this technology are wonderful. The Mimeo Teach bar is very easily transferable from room to room or lab to lab. There's several grade level materials available out there, K-12, and also multi-subject materials. And if you don't want specific subjects, there's things such as graphic organizers and other features that can be used regardless of whether you're looking at an educational tool or maybe something for a presentation. For my second lesson plan, I decided to continue on with the Mimeo Teach, but this time I wanted to use this for a cross-curricular approach, and I chose to do that with our writing program. We do have a district-wide adapted approach that we take to our writing. It's called QRTP, which is a quote relevance thesis preview approach. And I'm going to use the Mimeo Teach bar and software again with the whiteboard, or in my case an equivalent whiteboard. You still need the overhead projector, the computer, and if possible internet access. This time, even though the requirements are the same as far as knowing the Mimeo Teach technology, it is very important that the teacher or parapro is knowledgeable about the district-wide writing process. I myself am a math and science teacher, but I still need to be able to assist the kids, if they don't have a very strong quote or their thesis is kind of weak, I need to be able to point that out and assist those students in creating a more clear thought process as they're doing this writing approach. The students this time, they should have their basic computer knowledge by now, especially since we've used the Mimeo Teach in a previous unit. And then they should also be pretty well familiar with the Mimeo Teach. We will spend some time reviewing the functionality of the program. However, most students, I'm pretty sure, will have a pretty good grasp of this. And again, those listening skills are pretty important. This time, I will still plan on taking one class period to review the technology to demonstrate, um, how the new aspects of the technology work. But I also kind of want to do a refresher in case students did forget some of the little things with the technology. They're gonna be allotted probably 10 to 15 minutes, 3 to 4 days a week, to play around with the beginning, end, and middle model, which is what we're going to use for the writing approach, and then they'll be assessed on what they've done. And the procedures for the beginning, end, and middle model within the Mimio Teach is as follows. This time, students are going to again go to the gallery, and they're going to go up and select graphic organizers. And within the graphic organizers, they're going to do the beginning, middle, and end. And if they scroll down to the bottom, they can click on that, drag it over. And this is very similar to the periodic table activity. They can either choose to write in it, or they can use the text feature, which I will use. I'll come over here, adjust my font, and start out with a quote that says, Martin Luther King once said. And the nice thing about this feature, again, we can put this in a constructive criticism format where the students can kind of critique each other's work, and any mistakes that are found, we can go ahead and highlight and make note of it and save it, and then we have documentation of this again. Again, the pros of this technology is it's technology and it's engaging. And the one thing I really like with the writing is that the students can learn from each other's samples in the open forum discussion where they're allowed to constructively critique each other. In the cons, we have one board that we can project up, and if time is limited, not everyone will get to present each and every day. Instructional strategies are again the same as before. The only thing that's different this time is that I think you do need to set that guideline for your students about what is expected of them when they are constructively critiquing each other's work. But other than that, it's still, you have to effectively model what you want the students to do, hold those high expectations for all students, and offer the extensions for those that are excelling at a rapid rate. Capabilities are also the same. I want to take this time to thank you for any comments that you have and for viewing this presentation. Good luck and have a good day.